to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along.
Well, come on along and welcome aboard Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Foyle. Thanks a lot for taking us along wherever you're going, whatever you may be doing. We appreciate you taking us along for the ride. Hope you had a great weekend and ready to get your week off to a good start. If not, hopefully we can get that headed in that direction for you. Big times going on over the weekend. Indiana baseball, big deal for them. Big Ten champions, Coach Jeff Mercer and the Indiana Hoosiers wrapping up a Big Ten title with a sweep of Rutgers at Bart Kaufman Field. We'll hear from the participants and the celebratory action that went on. It's a great thing to see out there. On the program today, Joe Healy from America, Baseball America, will join us. Looking forward to talking to him. We'll talk about the IU baseball team, the success they've had, and what they may be looking forward to as they'll be heading to a NCAA tournament berth, of course. But this week is the Big Ten tournament out in Omaha. We'll talk about that. We'll have complete coverage of that. Also on the program today, Mitchel Paige, former IU great football player, will be joining us as well. Looking forward to talking to Mitchell. It's always a fun time when we have a Mitchell-palooza. Love a Mitchell-palooza. Hope your day's off to a good start. Like I said, hit us up on the text line if you like, 812-269-6367. Let us know what your thoughts or comments are. CBS ranked the Big Ten football conference's football coaches. We'll talk about that. I think the IU women's golf team was in action. We'll check the results to see how they did in the NCAA down in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Speaking of golf, the PGA Championship wrapped up. Brooks Koepka becomes just the second golfer, along with Tiger Woods, to win back-to-back PGA Championships. Thought there was going to be an epic collapse, and that I was watching that a little bit yesterday, and I think he had 4 straight bogeys closing it out, and Dustin Johnson was trying to make a run, but couldn't get it done. He had a little trouble himself, but and did you see? And it was a pretty funny clip before the round. I think it was before the round. Brooks Koepka's walking, and his girlfriend. Apparently, I guess it's his girlfriend. I didn't see a ring, but is with him. And she leans in to try to get a kiss while they're walking at one point, and he just kind of doesn't. His mind was elsewhere. And the funny thing is, you could tell she was pissed off when she didn't get that. She was shut down. And actually, she tried that twice, I think. Right before that, you could see she'd started to lean in a little bit. Got rebuffed, but funny stuff. But, man, it was a fun time out at the ballpark over the weekend at Bart Kaufman Field. Indiana baseball team becomes the Big Ten champions, first time since 2014. So congratulations to Coach Jeff Mercer in his first season. Nice way to start things off for the Mercer regime, as they're off in Omaha right now. They've already taken off, and I think they were out there yesterday. No rest for the weary, as Indiana, one of the favorites to win the Big Ten tournament now, and see what that does for them in placement of the NCAA tournament. I know you'll hear people talk that, if they do this and do that, there's an outside shot that they could host, and the reality is I don't think that there is a shot for them to host. The numbers just don't bear it out. I think their top 50 RPI portion of that RPI kind of holds them back a little bit, but good potential landing spot is probably Louisville, with the Cardinals hosting. Of course, they played Louisville just about a week. And when you get into a tournament situation, it's not that big of a deal. I think it certainly has the hitting. They lead the country in home runs. Again, they regained the lead. Tennessee Tech is someone they have kind of flopped back and forth with. Indiana added, I think, 4 home runs on Saturday or Friday. A big day is they knocked some more in, 90. That's a new team record, by the way. The old team record, I think, was 85. They tied that and then went right on by. Congratulations to Jeff Mercer. We'll hear from Coach Mercer today talking about that. We'll also hear from Joe Healy from Baseball America. We'll talk about their prospects. And Mitchel Paige. It's a Mitchel Palooza. I forgot about having a Mitchel Palooza, Jake.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because now I can use that.
Exactly. Hey, dust it off, man. It's time to dust it off, get it out of the mothballs. How was your weekend?
It was pretty good. Went to another AAU tournament. This time it was girls basketball in Louisville. A lot of courts down there. It was in the Expo Center, and they always fill that thing up. It's pretty amazing how many courts they get in there. And this was a pretty small tournament. In July, I think they'll have a girls and a boys tournament called the Run for the Roses, and they'll fill that up with about 100 courts within the South Wing. If you're familiar with the Kentucky Expo Center, that South Wing goes on for about a mile and a half, and the whole thing is filled up with basketball courts.
They have a lot of tournaments there. Jake does a lot of film work and whatnot for various places. Yeah, I went to that last year, one of the big AAU tournaments they had during the summer. As a matter of fact, sat next to John Beeline and talked to John Beeline for a little bit. I remember there's an odd story because Damon Bailey's son was playing. His team was playing down there, and they were actually playing in a championship of their particular age group. They were playing against a team that had Kentucky's top recruit. I can't remember which one it was right now. It's drawing a blank. But anyway, John Beeline is watching this game, and we're talking, and he's like, man, it's amazing. Number 20 is really doing it for him. And I remember looking at him and say, do you know who that is? He goes, no. I said, that's Brayton Bailey. I said, that's Damon Bailey's son. He goes, oh, no kidding. I said, yeah, and Damon Bailey's sitting right down there. He goes, oh, wow. So it's kind of odd, weird to be talking to John Beeline and then to be talking about Damon Bailey's son. It was kind of a funny moment. But John Beeline won't have to be doing that anymore. No more sitting in a weekend spent in odd towns watching AAU basketball for him. He's making the big bucks, baby. He's got other people doing all that stuff now. New coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers.
I can see why college coaches hate recruiting, because just sitting in those gyms isn't really a fun experience most of the time unless you're there watching somebody specific, because a lot of those teams, I'm not going to say anything else.
It's true. I mean, it's a lot of, dude, they got to sit out there, not only to watching, a lot of it is being seen by these coaches. They, especially when you're watching a specific player, or if you are watching a specific player, they will get in a very strategic place so that player sees them a lot. And then you're always wearing the school colors or something that says Indiana on it or whatever, if whoever your team is, if it's Archie Miller, they'll get in a very strategic spot so they're seen by the player. And that means usually at the end of the court. They're not sitting up in the bleachers if they can help it. They want to sit at the end of the court and be seen. That's exactly where John Beeline was when I was talking about that story earlier. But Tim hit us up on the text line. Memphis filled their last roster spot. So does Watford really still going to LSU? I think it's LSU or Alabama. I mean, those are the only two options. He's not coming to Indiana. I mean, that's not to me. That is not an option. Things would have to fall apart for him in his recruiting to go to Indiana. I just don't think they're an option for him. He never made a visit. He wants to forge his own path, so to speak. But I think it's more than that. I think it's just I hate to say that I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up at LSU, but it's still surprising for anybody to end up at LSU. knowing what all is going to go on there. But if he's looking at if he doesn't care about whether or not he plays in the NCAA tournament this year, if he's just looking at it as a stepping stone to the NCAA or to the NBA, which is very well what he is looking for, which we already know that he's no doubt that that's what he's looking for. But a lot of kids, they want that NCAA experience along the way. They'd like to play on a team that has a shot to do something at the end of the year in the tournament. I don't think that's going to be LSU, boys. Johnny Law is going to come knocking on the door sometime soon. It's just a matter of time. So whether that happens this year or not, it would be a reason enough for him to go there. If he thinks that they're going to be fine for this season, he'll end up going there. It's his goal is the NBA, and that's what he's looking towards. He doesn't care about wearing a school's jersey across his front. These kids that are NBA bound, they don't care about that. They just don't. It's a layover. It's just a stepping point, a stopgap measure. They're moving on. They got bigger, better things on their mind. It's sad. I mean, it's a different culture, man. It's a different culture. Now, we're talking about two different groups of kids, though. You have a group of kids who do care about that, who do want to succeed in college because they're going to be in college for 2, 3, maybe 4 years. But the kids that don't like Watford doesn't care. He's got NBA on his mind, and that's where he wants to get to, and whatever he thinks will give him the best opportunity for the best placement of that, best prepare him for that. That's where he's going to go, and that for him is LSU is probably the best because Memphis is, like 10 pointed out, it's full, man. But I knew that Memphis was going to fill up because he there just wasn't a lot of conversation about him in Memphis. You kept hearing about all these other players. Precious. I'm not sure how to say Precious's last name, if it's a shoe or I don't want to mispronounce it. So, but man, what a class that they're pulling in, Penny Hardaway. And then now the big talk, and we'll talk about this later on. And that is the big scuttlebutt out of Michigan is Juwan Howard being their coach. I kind of laugh because I call that's the Penny Hardaway effect. I think they look at Howard as being another Penny Hardaway because he played in the league. And I'm like, man. And there was all this talk about the culture and Chris Webber to bring everybody together. Well, who wasn't together? John Beeline's done a hell of a job there for 12, 13 years, however long he was there. He was killing it, and he was doing it without 5 stars. See, you get all these comments from these Fab Five guys who won nothing, by the way. They won nothing. Indiana won the Big Ten championships back then, and they didn't win an NCAA championship. But to them, that needs to bring everybody together. What the hell does that mean? Just because they're not involved, because they don't want you involved. You're a cheater, Chris Webber. Cracks me up. But we got a lot coming up here on the program today. Joe Healy from Baseball America. We'll talk about Indiana's big weekend, winning a Big Ten championship. We'll hear from Indiana. We'll hear from Coach Jeff Mercer. Mitchel Paige, a good friend of the show, former all-star football player for Indiana, joins us as well. Looking forward to that and more. Hit us up on the text line. We'll get to all that and more when we come back here on Indiana Sports Beat from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. We're back with more after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for it each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, you want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
Hi, this is AJ Moyer, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Studios. Appreciate you joining us. And a special guest, friend of the show, Ken Bykoff from Peegs.com. Ken, thanks a lot for joining us, man.
Hey, happy to be here.
Lots going on since we've spoken last. I hadn't seen you since basketball season got over, but we've got beer that's going to be sold at IU next year. We've got gambling that's probably going to be going on. Just a lot of changes right now.
Yeah, there are a lot of changes, and I think that there are not a lot of negatives to them, to be honest with you. I mean, from a gambling standpoint, you know, if that's something that comes through and people are able to do that, it raises the interest in the game. I know there are people that have issues with you know, that from a personal standpoint, but it also can drag in a casual fan to pay more attention to a game. Fantasy sports certainly have done that in different areas, and I think that makes a big difference. And then, you know, from the beer standpoint, it is something that has been done elsewhere. It's been done, I know in Minnesota for a long time, especially when they played at the Humphrey Dome. That was something that they sold because it was off campus. And it's also not a thing to where people are going to be going there to drink to excess. I mean, it's an extra little thing that isn't going to drive a ton of revenue, but it's an extra little thing to keep people in the game. Maybe just go ahead, we'll have a drink in there. To me, it's something that, why not? There's just no reason not to. I mean, this is 2019. It's just so ubiquitous. There's no reason not to, and I think that it's just one more little thing that could help the fan experience. It's a hot game. You want to support the team. You could grab a beer and go. You could leave the game and go outside and go have a beer, but then you're outside the stadium. And any kind of energy that could be generated for IU football is going to be a positive for the most part. And I like that Indiana's taking that step and going along with what other places have done. And you could say they're keeping up with the Joneses, but that's something Indiana football really needed to do.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about not a lot of revenue, but I think Purdue generated $500,000 off of that.
Right.
That buys some stuff, man.
Absolutely.
And it's going on outside anyway, like you talked about, the tailgating. And Indiana's one of the few places that allows halftime pass-outs. Now, I think that may change.
I think it should.
Absolutely, and I agree wholeheartedly because it has affected the second-half crowds
of
these games. And the product hadn't been quite what it needs to be, but that seems to be probably changing with the great recruiting job that Tom Allen's doing. Probably expect to see a better product on the field, so it could be just an incredible fan experience in the next couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned the talent in the recruiting. A couple of years ago, there were no four-star recruits that were coming to the program. This year, there's 3 of them coming on top of some of the talent that they got last year. And these are guys that, when you start to add that depth, you start to add guys who could help you, for at just a higher level. It doesn't have to be right when they step on campus, but if they're already at a 4-star point, they don't have to develop that point. So to me, it's just so important to be able to bring in this level of recruits. And I was here when Bill Lynch was battling MAC teams for recruits and not always winning those battles. Just the overall talent that Indiana's been going after, they're willing to battle against some of the bigger programs. Kevin Wilson certainly took a step forward with that, and Tom Allen hasn't shied away from that. He wants good talent. He wants quality talent that's going to fit his program, and it's not a pie in the sky. And I'm impressed with the job that staff has done in recruiting these kids, because they don't have the results to back it up. Indiana has not cratered in any way, shape, or form. There's no 1-11 like Kevin Wilson had his first year. First 2 years of Tom Allen's tenure, 10-14 in the 2 years, 1 game short of bowl eligibility. It has been far from a mess. Now it's that matter of learning to win those games, and you need talent to win some of those games, and he's getting it.
Absolutely. And one quick thing on the beer sales, one of the things I think people may find hard to believe, but places that have implemented beer sales have had much less problems with alcohol-related incidents. Sure. And it's amazing, but it's true.
Yeah, it is. And, it's a situation where people don't think they have to load up out in the parking lot before they could come inside. And, again, it is just one of those things where if you take away that taboo part of it, I think it makes a big difference as well. Because, look, I went to school here. I remember smuggling beers in the stadium myself. Okay, so if somebody wants to charge me with something from 1996, you go on ahead. But it is one of those things where if you could do it, it just adds to it. To me, there's not a huge negative against it. It's been done at pro stadiums for a long time, and just because this is a college stadium, you know what? I don't think it makes that big a difference.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think it's going to be an incredible fan experience. And I kind of jumped around there at the end. We were talking about the great job that Tom Allen and his staff are doing. I've been talking about that a lot lately. I was one of many people who, when Tom Allen was hired, was the first to say, man, that's a bad hire. You can't hire somebody at this level that has no head coaching experience. And the hire, on the face of it, probably may not have been the right thing to do. But, man, he's making all of us look stupid because the recruiting job he's doing, as you talked about, with not having that success to back it up, is astounding to me because it hasn't been done at this school the way he's doing it.
No, I want to say that 3 of the top 5 all-time top-rated recruits have been added to the program in the last couple of years, and they have committed to Tom Allen. And during his year as a defensive coordinator, I know people don't like his lack of experience and didn't like that, don't like him learning on the job. Well, you know what? Indiana football has lost more games, or has it has not been a good program, from top to bottom. So this is the kind of job where somebody can learn on the job. And they haven't cratered. Part of that has been him just rebuilding the quarterback position, which was not left in a good situation by Kevin Wilson. And that year that Tom Allen was a coordinator, there were more than one time that year when I thought, I wish he was the head coach and not Kevin Wilson, just because Tom Allen just seemed to have so much more of a clear vision and so much of a better focus for the program and where he wanted the program to go. I understand people's frustrations with him. Hey, why don't you open it up, do a national search, do this, that, and the other. Yeah, you might have been able to get a different guy. It's not like Tom Allen would have been stolen away from you. But you know what? At that point, go ahead and gamble on it a little bit. I didn't mind the hire the day that it happened, and I haven't been as critical as other people because, again, it is just a program where you can learn on the job, and it's also Tom Allen. Kevin Wilson was going to be out of here the first opportunity he got. He went to back-to-back bowls, but if anybody would have thrown him a hint of a better job, he'd have been out of here, and you'd have been in the same situation. Well, now Tom Allen wants to bring this program back and is a relatively young guy for a head football coach. He wants to be here, and so if he gets this thing turned around, if he's able to build on the momentum he has on the recruiting trail, he's going to be the one that is here and is going to be able to build it. He's not going to be looking to bounce out of here at his first opportunity.
Absolutely right. And not only that, we can look back at some of the guys that have been hired, Kevin Wilson included, that may not have had a head coaching experience per se, but they came from big-time programs from Oklahoma.
Yeah.
You had Jerry DiNardo in here. You had Cam Cameron in here. And it didn't get done there either. So you're absolutely right. Why not take a chance on somebody that's going to be here? Tom Allen wants to be here, and obviously his passion that he's bringing is making a difference on that recruiting trail because he's astonishing me with what they're doing. It's amazing.
Well, and you look at who left the program after Kevin Wilson was hired. And you had a ton of turnover on that team, guys leaving before the season started, leaving during the season. There was a lot of upheaval. There was not a lot of upheaval, and there hasn't been a lot of upheaval since Tom Allen came, which meant that those players bought into what he was selling right off the bat. Doesn't have a ton of trouble, and you have higher-ranked recruits, bigger-time talent wanting to come and play for him. He's selling something that people are buying.
Yeah, he's got guys that are coming in from Detroit that want to be a part of this. Yes. Guys that are coming in from Florida that want to be a part of this.
And
it's amazing.
Not nobodies.
No.
I mean, it is some serious talent that's coming in. Talent Indiana hasn't seen, and he's been able to rebuild that quarterback position, which again, for some reason, for a guy who was as successful with Sam Bradford at Oklahoma, Kevin Wilson just did not seem to put a lot of stock or attention on the importance of the quarterback position. And right now, Indiana's going to be going into a fall camp with Peyton Ramsey having a couple of years of starting experience under his belt. Utah transfer Jack Tuttle is ready to play immediately and was impressive in the spring. And then Michael Penix showed what he could do in flashes last year. Probably should have been the starter at the start of the year last year. Wasn't, got hurt, but he's certainly going to be pushing for that starting position. So you go from 2 years ago really struggling at the most important position in sports to having a lot of very nice options, I think, that have a ton of potential.
Talking with our good friend Ken Bykoff from Peaks.com. Matt's on with us each week, Matt Weaver from Peaks.com, the football guru when it comes to Indiana recruiting and whatnot. And every week it's like there's another name that's coming, another name, and not just a name, but another prominent recruit that's coming in. And it just doesn't seem to be stopping for these guys.
No, and it's rolling. And the thing is you get your first, quality recruit. It makes it easier for other top recruits to go ahead and make that. And by top recruits, relative to what Indiana has gotten in the past, it makes it easier for them to say yes. Now, you certainly need a special kind of kid to come in and say, I want to be a part of building a program. It's very easy for these top guys to go to the big programs, and you see it all the time. And I understand where they're coming from. They don't want to have to struggle. They want to be there and go to a bowl and do all that. Tom Allen is selling playing time. He's selling a system that that players can be successful in. He's selling also an atmosphere that makes parents comfortable, because we could send our son there and not have the kind of problems that you might see elsewhere, and that's no small thing. And plus you throw in everything that you have in Bloomington, everything that goes along with the town, Big Ten football. It is a situation where Indiana really has an opportunity to build something very, very nice under Tom Allen. And again, he's a guy who's planning on being here for a little while longer.
Now we look at the other side of the coin, basketball, Ken. Some people could say, hey, they're really struggling in recruiting. And I wouldn't say that they're struggling from within the borders of the state. He's making the inroads. Archie Miller is making the inroads that he needs to. He's bringing in Trace Jackson Davis this year, Romeo last year, Armand Franklin, lost Keon Brooks. But the guys that are outside this program, they're still struggling to but it's not Archie Miller. I think it's how Indiana is perceived. And you wrote a great piece a while back talking about the last 25 years on how that perception made what it is, but within the fandom of Indiana is not what it is outside of those borders.
No, it's not. And there's just, the numbers prove it out. There's no question that Indiana fans love their 5 banners and love the success the Indiana program has had. It just hasn't existed for a very long time. Or if it has, it's been a year here, a year there. There hasn't been that sustained effort, and part of that has to do with the way that the previous coaching staff recruited, the lack of balance in recruiting classes over the years has made it so that you could have a senior-heavy class and then it falls off. You had guys that were brought in and certainly talented, but they weren't going to be here for very long, and they didn't have an opportunity to kind of sustain a culture. And I think Archie Miller has learned over his first couple of years here at Indiana that culture, building a roster, putting together a group of guys who play well together, is as important as just sheer talent. Because you could have, the best player in the world on your team. If the other guys don't fit well, if your bench doesn't fit well, you're not necessarily going to have the level of success that you expect. And so I think that it's important. This is going to be a very important year for Archie Miller because of the fact that he's going to be in year 3, missed the NCAA tournament the past couple of years. I liked what the team did in the NIT, and IU fans might roll their eyes at the NIT. Hey, it was a tournament. The previous year they didn't go, and they said, well, this is Indiana, we go to the NCAA tournament. Well, no, we haven't. And that in recent years, that hasn't just been the slam dunk. Yeah, it's the bare minimum of what most people expect, and Indiana hasn't achieved that.
It's like 8 out of 11 they missed it, right?
Yeah, so I mean, let's take a good look at this, and when you talk about 8 out of 11, that means out of the last 11 years, back when incoming freshmen would have been 7 years old. So what you're talking about is 8 out of the last 11 years, Indiana hasn't been part of the NCAA tournament, which means Indiana might as well be, a program like Iowa State or those kind of programs is what Indiana really has been more like. Now, this is a big year because of the fact there has been so much turnover on the roster. I think 9 guys from last year are going to be gone. That's really important because he's been a little hamstrung in terms of remaking his roster for APR issues, just trying to get the pieces to fit together. Guys who were recruited by the previous staff to play a certain way who haven't completely bought into what Archie Miller's trying to do. Now he's able to have 2 classes of his recruits in, and the third one coming in, quality talent in Trace Jackson Davis, second straight Mr. Basketball in the state of Indiana to come to IU. So that talent is still there. And they're able to kind of just continue to build on the culture that Indiana has. And Archie Miller, certainly is going to be facing a serious season this year because fans want to see results. And I do too. People ask me all the time, what do I think about Archie Miller? It's a wait and see thing because you've seen incremental improvement, but not as much as you want. And it's with Joey Brunk, the addition of the center from Butler. He's a kid that's going to be able to step in and help them right away and balance the classes, Jim. That's going to be important. With the guys that they lost last year, you don't want to just dump a bunch of freshmen in, and they might end up with a scholarship open, which I think is perfectly fine. Again, the previous coaching staff just threw scholarships around like it was nobody's business. This staff has a much better vision of what they want it to look like, and they're not willing to use scholarships just to get warm bodies.
And especially, and follow up on that, they've got 2 open scholarships that may or may not even get used this year.
Exactly. And that's, as long as they're disciplined with how they're using their scholarships and putting the puzzle pieces together, I think that's going to be just critical.
Ken Bykoff from Peaks.com. Can't thank you enough, man. We appreciate you as always.
Happy to come on.
Thank you, Ken Bykoff from Peaks.com joining us. More coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Back with more after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for it each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us research program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
This is former Indiana basketball player Greg Graham. Keep up with the Hoosiers on Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Just
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you, of course, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Hope your Monday is getting off to a good start. If not, hopefully we can head in that right direction. Joe Healy from Baseball America will be joining us today on the program. Also, former IU great Mitchel Paige. It's a Mitchel Palooza. Always fun to have Mitchell on, man. He's a good dude. He's a big-time supporter of IU athletics in general, but, of course, football especially. Being a former standout that he is, and he's a standout in many ways. They coming up on Wednesday. I think it'll be Wednesday. We'll have Angel Escobedo on. He's the Indiana wrestling coach. And I know that we don't do a lot of wrestling, obviously, but Indiana's got the 16th rated recruiting class in the country. Angel Escobedo is a former NCAA champion for Indiana, their only NCAA champion. So look forward to talking to him and giving some love to some programs that don't get a lot of it. So we try to spread the love for you and bring you complete coverage of the Indiana University Hoosiers athletics across the board. I think we do a pretty good job of that. Was out all weekend at the Bart Kaufman Field. That was a pretty fun, exciting time, especially because it was laid out pretty perfectly. Nebraska and Michigan had played a 3-game series, which was determining the Big Ten champions. It didn't matter what Indiana did. It mattered what it did, but it mattered what Michigan did as well, because they went into the weekend with a 1.5-game lead on Indiana with 3 games to go, meaning Indiana would have to sweep Rutgers and Nebraska would have to win the series with Michigan, and that's exactly what happened. And fortunately, Nebraska and Michigan played a doubleheader on Friday. They played Thursday at Indiana and Rutgers, which Indiana obviously won that game. And then on Friday, they played a doubleheader. And I didn't see the end of the game because it went late because of a weather delay. But Nebraska won that series. So Indiana knew they had just had to, if they win, that they were going to be Big Ten champions. And so when that final out came, it was a pretty exciting time. And speaking of, not so much excitement, but the man on the mound that finished the game out for Indiana, Gabe Bierman, he's from Jeffersonville, Indiana. And I don't know, you may have seen, I posted on Twitter that very few in the capacity crowd at Bart Kaufman Field on Saturday probably knew that dude had a lot more going on in his mind than winning a Big Ten championship. Not that he wasn't locked in, laser focused on that as he pitched a phenomenal 3 innings for Indiana. But Gabe lost his father just over a week ago. And I'm sure that was just a really tough time. I lost my mom myself this past March, so I understand what he was going through, except for he was having to perform at a high level with an entire team depending upon him. And Jeff Mercer did not hesitate to go with the man. He's been doing a crazy good job at the end of the season on top of that. So we salute Gabe Bierman, and our condolences are to his family and to him, and marvel at the way he handled that situation. Remarkable. And I know that had to be very tough to do that with a heavy heart, but he did it, and he did it very well. Jeff Mercer talked about Gabe Bierman after the championship win on Saturday. Jake, if you're ready for that, let's hear what Coach had to say.
I want to commend Gabe Bierman. Gabe lost his dad last week on Friday, and what an incredible job by him. What incredible resiliency and toughness. And obviously, we've prayed really hard for Gabe, and he's a great player, and he comes in and just really settled things, right? And settled things. We were able to kind of tack a few more on, but when Gabe came in, that game was still within striking distance. There's not, that game was not over. The score is not indicative, and I didn't really even breathe a sigh of relief until the double play ball there in the ninth. But yeah, Gabe's transformation this year has been incredible. One of the better ones I've seen in my coaching career, and I'm just really proud of him and happy for him that he could go out there and finish that ball game and represent his family the way that I know that he wanted to.
That's Jeff Mercer, head baseball coach from Indiana, talking about Gabe Bierman and the tough situation that he's been dealing with for the last week. Again, our condolences to Gabe and his family. He's from Jeffersonville. Our thoughts and prayers are with you, and and many other. I know he had a lot of support from the IU baseball family, and but he did a hell of a job, man. He's been really playing well the end of the year period. Matt Lloyd had been the closer, and I don't know if it was just because Gabe's been doing so well or trying to save Matt Lloyd a little bit, because he's also one of their home run hitters and one of their good hitters, better players. He can do so many things, but Gabe's been coming in and cleaning things up for Indiana and doing a hell of a job for it. And he did it again for the Big Ten championship. Tanner Gordon, man, when that happened and he got that last strikeout, the dog pile, the team floods out of the dugout, and Tanner Gordon ends up getting a bloody nose down on the field for the post game, and he's got blood all over his arms. It was a very fun bloody nose to get, but you just tell the joy in those guys. Indiana had not won a Big Ten title since 2014 under Tracy Smith, who tweeted out his best wishes to the Indiana team for winning. He's at Arizona State now, of course. They'll be in the NCAA tournament. Indiana, undoubtedly, in the NCAA tournament. We'll find out where next Monday. But they're off to Omaha, Nebraska right now. They'll be playing in the Big Ten tournament. They start on Wednesday. I think they play game 3. I think that's at 5 o'clock. Check your local TV listings and all of that. But looking forward to that. Should be a fun thing to take in. The Big Ten doing a lot better this year. We'll talk to Joe Healy about that from Baseball America. You know, the Big Ten had not historically been a baseball powerhouse in NCAA, because you've got what I call the Sun Belt states. The best programs all come from the warm weather states. But the Big Ten is changing that. They're becoming a force in the tournament. Now, they haven't risen up to be that upper echelon yet, but baby steps. I mean, they'll have a lot of teams in this year. Illinois, Nebraska, I'm not sure if they'll make it in. Indiana, Michigan. They used to be a one team, sometimes a 2-team league. As far as two bid league, that's increasing. That's just steadily increasing. Of course, Indiana now on the verge of making the NCAA tournament for the 6th time in 7 years, I believe. So that program is without a doubt the flagship program of the Big Ten right now, as far as baseball goes, which is always a good thing to see. Indiana being a flagship program of the conference in whatever you're talking about, whether it's swimming and diving. Need to get them back on the basketball side of things, though, that's for sure. I'll tell you who is trying to do that right now is Memphis and Penny Hardaway. They get another 5-star with Mr. Precious. Again, I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name, Jake. Have you heard his name said? I have not even heard his name said.
No, I haven't either.
Achiuwa. Achiuwa. I hate to say it if I'm butchering it, and I don't want to butcher it. But I haven't paid a lot of attention to him because I knew he was not coming to Indiana. But, man, he's a big dude, 6'9", power forward. He's out of Montverde Academy, which produces a lot of talent. But it's a heck of a run for Penny Hardaway. They've landed commitments from Lester Quinones, of course, who was someone Indiana was really chasing. Boogie Ellis. They just got that guard, Rajon Tucker. I mean, and that's a key because he brings in a veteran guard. That's a pretty damn smart move, I got to say. because the most important position on the floor is that guard spot, man. And you need someone that's got a veteran head to guide all those young, talented recruits that they've got. They've got 7 commitments. You got James Wiseman. They've taken the number 1 spot. They have without a doubt the number 1 recruiting class in the country. That's ahead of Kentucky, ahead of Arizona, ahead of Duke. Villanova's number 5. Guess who's number 6? And where the hell does this come from? USC. Amazes me a little bit. Florida's sitting at number 7, which, beware the Gators. They've got a good recruiting class coming in. Of course, North Carolina is normal. And then Tom Crean and Georgia sitting at number 9, followed by Louisville. But one program you don't see there is Indiana. I'm not sure exactly. I think they're maybe in the top 20. Having trouble loading that real fast, but they missed on a lot of their recruits. Of course, the national recruits, they've turned their sights towards 2020 now and turned it within the borders for the most part. Ohio State sits at number 12. Texas Tech at number 14, so they're reloading. You keep scanning down, you get Michigan State at number 24, Maryland at 26. Looking for Big Ten teams, and you keep dropping. Minnesota is at 37. Nebraska, who's in the midst of changing coaches, they bring in 5 commitments. They're at number 41. And I'm still rolling. I'm down to 50, and I've yet to see Indiana. There they are at number 52 with 2 commitments. Joey Brunk is not a part of the recruiting class. He's a transfer. So if you're wondering about that, Purdue is at number 54. But Indiana's sitting at the 52nd rated recruiting class. They're bringing in 2 kids, Trace Jackson Davis and Armand Franklin, 2 Indiana kids. You're not going to compete with these upper level teams when that happens. And this is going to be an off recruiting year for Indiana as it looks right now. Not that the kids they got coming in are bad. I mean, you got 2 great ones, Trace Jackson Davis and Armand Franklin. Like I said, they're Indiana kids. But they've got to kick it up a notch. We'll talk about that a lot more. We've got Mitchel Paige on the program today. Joe Healy from Baseball America is going to join us as well. We got more to talk about with Indiana baseball as they win the Big Ten Championship for 2019. Congratulations to Jeff Mercer and the whole crew. The IU women's golf team was competing in the NCAA tournament over the weekend in Fayetteville, Arkansas. We've got a lot more to talk about. Stay tuned. Indiana Sports Beat's back with a lot more here on From the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. We're back with more right after this.
When I need small reminder, when my legs cannot find the road, when I'm heavy with my burden.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
Hey sports fans, this is Lily King. Make sure you tune into Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
This hour is brought to you by Sweetland Waste and Removal Service, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along.
Well, come on along and welcome aboard. Thanks a lot for taking Indiana Sports Beat along for the ride, wherever you're going, whatever you may be doing. We appreciate you taking us along. Jim's at the wheel, keeping things on the track. I'm Jim Coyle with you as always. Another big program scheduled. Joe Healy from Baseball America will be with us. We're talking baseball as Indiana wraps up the 2019 Big Ten Championship over the weekend as they head off to the Big Ten tournament in Omaha. We'll talk about that here from Coach Jeff Mercer and et al. And company. Mitchel Paige, it's a Mitchel Palooza. Former IU football great Mitchel Paige is with us on the show today as well. Look forward to talking to Mitch always. It's a good time, man. He brings a lot of energy and a lot of fun to the show. As I said, IU baseball, a huge win over the weekend. They sweep Rutgers to win the 2019 Big Ten tournament or Big Ten championship. They went into the weekend trailing Michigan by a game and a half, and Michigan was on the road at Nebraska. And Indiana got the help from the Cornhuskers that they needed as Nebraska won that series by winning the first 2 games, which with Indiana's 2 wins put Indiana up half a game going into the final game. Michigan won their game, but it wouldn't matter if Indiana won out, and it didn't, as Indiana is able to wrap up the 2019 Big Ten title. Congratulations to Coach Jeff Mercer and the entire baseball program. That's the first Big Ten title since 2014 for the Hoosiers, since Tracy Smith was here. 2014 for the Hoosiers. Chris Lemonis did a good job, obviously, but did not win the Big Ten title while he was here before he headed off to Mississippi State. You've got Tracy Smith down in Arizona State. We'll talk about that lineage of coaches for IU, that they've not only that they've had such a good run of coaches, but the fact that they're able to keep going like they have. I mean, for Jeff Mercer in his first year to win a Big Ten title, pretty special. Not a bad deal, as they flew out to Omaha yesterday to participate in this year's Big Ten tournament that's going on in Omaha, site of the College World Series. Indiana, of course, hoping they can get back there. We'll see where they end up in the NCAA tournament. Likelihood of landing in Louisville is a very good spot, a very probable spot for them, but you never know how things are going to turn out. It depends a lot of what other teams do and this and that, but very, very probable that they could end up in Louisville, which would not be bad because it'd be close, but the only bad thing is you got to go against a very, very good team in Louisville, but you're going to face a good competition wherever, so it doesn't really matter. And Louisville's a team that they obviously have matched up well with, especially over the years. They've played well with them. Here recently, just played in Bloomington. Louisville came and they got a win, but it was not easy. They able to get that done in 11 innings. So Indiana can compete with about anybody. So looking forward to that as well. We'll be hear from Coach Jeff Mercer here in a little bit. Also, on that team, Gabe Bierman, who has done a phenomenal job at the end of the season. He has been acting as a closer. Man, they'd been using Matty Lloyd, but here of late, Gabe Bierman's been getting a lot of work and doing a very good job at it, and he's able to close out that game on Saturday to get the win. Or not, he didn't get the win, but Indiana did. He pitched the last 3 innings of that ball game. Did a phenomenal job, and nothing sweeter than when he got that last out and the dog pile ensued. But Gabe Bierman was thinking about a lot of things other than winning a Big Ten title, as he lost his father just over a week ago, and our thoughts and prayers are with him and his family. I know that that's a very, very rough thing for anybody to deal with, but especially for a kid, a young kid who's just in a prime, and now he's being asked to go out and compete at a Division I level, not just compete, but you've got a title on the line. You've just got so much, and to be able to laser focus and block all that out is phenomenal. But after the game on Saturday, Coach Jeff Mercer talked about Gabe and what he's been dealing with and how much he means to that team. Let's hear what Coach Mercer had to say.
I want to commend Gabe Bierman. Gabe lost his dad last week on Friday, and what an incredible job by him. What incredible resiliency and toughness. And obviously, we've prayed really hard for Gabe, and he's a great player. And he comes in and just really settled things, right? And settled things. We were able to kind of tack a few more on, but when Gabe came in, that game was still within striking distance. There's not. That game was not over. The score is not indicative, and I didn't really even breathe a sigh of relief until the double play ball there in the ninth. But yeah, Gabe's transformation this year has been incredible. One of the better ones I've seen in my coaching career, and I'm just really proud of him and happy for him that he could go out there and finish that ball game and represent his family the way that I know that he wanted to.
That's Coach Jeff Mercer talking about Gabe Bierman and the toughness that he had to show, and going out and not only having to pitch in a championship deciding game, but to do so with a heavy heart and a lot of things on his mind other than baseball. Again, our thoughts and prayers are with Gabe, but congratulations to him and the entire roster of the Indiana baseball team and Coach Jeff Mercer. You got to take your hat off to him. What a phenomenal job. And also kudos to him because he also took the time to handwrite a note to the media. I think he did it to everyone that covered him on Sunday, but the media, the regular media that follows him all year long, he took the time to handwrite a note personally to each person. And just what a phenomenal guy. Indiana baseball is in great hands with Jeff Mercer. And the good thing about Jeff Mercer is he's not going to be wanting to go anywhere else, right? I don't know if ever. He could be a lifer in Indiana. He's from Bargersville, Indiana. He likes it here. I think he would stay as long as they'll have him, to be honest with you. which would be a good thing. You talk about some continuity. How good can this program be if you get continuity, if you get a coach that's going to be there, not looking to go on to the next level or to another stop after that? Very, very important. But we also talked to Coach about the game, about winning the championship after, and how important that was to him. Jake, if you got that ready, let's hear that as well.
Coach, you talked all year long about executing, following the process, and doing the things you're supposed to do and good things to come. I know you're happy for the team, but how satisfying is it as a coach to see the guys do those things and then end up with a championship?
We're very blessed. God has really blessed us in this situation, because you're right. It's in your mind, in your mind's eye, you see what it's supposed to look like. And the hard part is communicating efficiently and effectively to have a group be able to share that vision and to see what you see and to see what it looks like. And that's the difficult part, and that's what a leader has to be able to do. And I have to search myself, and our coach have to search themselves to make sure they're communicating in a way that it's relatable and understandable. And so, yes, to finally see those things come to fruition and to see all the painstaking processes and all the meetings and all the video and all the practices and all those things come together. And look at how much better is our defense. Cole Barr is a Gold Glove player, Gold Glove third baseman the last half of the season, certainly the last third of the season. How much better is Justin Walker and our outfit? Like their growth in every area, our starting pitching, our relief pitching, all those things have grown. So yeah, it is incredibly rewarding, and I'm just very thankful. And I know it sounds like I'm just like spitting out a line, but I really am, because they didn't have to. Like, they don't have to. They could have said, like, who is this 33-year-old like hillbilly kid coming in here? I mean, they didn't have to listen. They could have fought you, and they didn't. And they kept trying to understand and get better. And once they started to understand it and grasp it, they wanted more and more and more. And then you see it all pull itself out. But that's why you just keep going. We were in first place for a long while. We lost some games maybe we shouldn't have along the way. But if you don't lose those games, you don't learn. Sometimes you have to get your butt smacked. When you're a kid, you got to get your butt smacked to learn a lesson, and sometimes that has to happen for teams too. And so if you don't lose those games, do we learn? Do we understand what you have to be able to do? So you continue to bounce back, and then you go to Illinois, and the wind's blowing in 15 miles an hour, and they got some really good arms, and we get beat 2 out of 3, and you meet up afterwards and you say, listen, fellas, like, it's a long way from done. It's a long way from done. We got a lot of ball games left to play, and so does everybody else. And they got to be able to handle the pressure. I tell you, it's tough to be number one, right? Everyone's chasing you. It's easy to be 2 and come from behind. It's tough to be number 1. So there for a couple weeks, some other teams, and there were several teams that were in that number 1 hunt. And there's the hunter and the hunted, and that's a hard thing to kind of manage that expectation. And so it's like, let's just keep going and see how this thing plays out.
You guys not only won 9 out of 10 series, and every series they know, but
That's Coach Jeff Mercer talking about a lot of things. He's great, man. He's talking about a soundbite. He always gives great ones. But congratulations to Coach Mercer winning the 2019 Big Ten title for Indiana baseball. Hey, we got a lot more coming up on the program today. We're going to talk with Joe Healy from Baseball America. We'll talk about Indiana's prospects, what they accomplished, what they can look forward to as well. Also, Mitchell Palooza, as Mitchell Paige, a friend and former IU great football player, join us as well. Stay tuned. We got plenty more coming up here from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. Back with more right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. It's Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
This is former Indiana basketball player Greg Graham. Keep up with the Hoosiers on the Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle, of course, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Hope your day is rolling well. If not, hopefully we can get it jump-started here. We got a good friend of ours, Joe Healy from Baseball America, joining us. Joe, how you doing, brother?
Pretty good, Jim. I appreciate you having me on. Best time of the year in college baseball, so excited to talk about it.
Just very happy to have you because, man, I know this has to be a busy time for you. It is the Kentucky Derby of college baseball seasons right now. And, man, you're out and about. I was fortunate enough to meet you while you were covering Indiana not too long ago. But you get to see as many teams as probably anybody, a wide variety of college baseball during the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things I love about the job and doing this is, being able to kind of dig below the surface and go see a lot of different teams, a lot of different conferences, a lot of different players. There's good college baseball all over the place. You just got to go and find it. And I love doing that weekend after weekend.
Yeah, and baseball is a sport that is really different than a lot of other sports because it is kind of predicated on the weather. And to really accentuate that point, I call it the Sun Belt states. But those schools that are in warmer weather climates, you tend to find a lot of the better schools in that area. Where a school like Indiana, who's coming on and a program that's growing, but it's more difficult for teams like that to get up into that upper echelon.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and that's just never going to change. There's some movement to move the college baseball season back, but we're never going to get a May 1st start date, for example. That's just not going to happen. So weather's always going to be an issue for schools in the Big Ten, or even it trickles down, obviously, to leagues like the Missouri Valley Conference, and which is a good baseball league historically. But in the face of that, the Big Ten's done a really good job turning itself into basically a power conference. Obviously, it's a power conference among the very best in football and in basketball, for example. But in baseball, they're right there. I mean, they're probably never going to get 10, 11 teams into the tournament like the SEC challenges to do. Even with the ACC routinely getting 8, 9, 10 teams, that's never probably going to be a thing in the Big Ten. But I mean, this has gone from being a two-bid league, a solid two-bid league, and the league might have got 3 teams in if things broke just right. I mean, now you look at it every year as it's kind of a bare minimum 3-bid league if things don't go particularly well. And if the league has a really good year, you get 5 teams in and you challenge to get a team to host a regional. And I think we'll probably see a day in the not-too-distant future where, they push to get 6 teams in and break their own record there. So the quality across the league has gotten better and better year over year. And that's expressed in a few different ways. I mean, the talent of the league has never been better. The competitiveness from top to bottom of the league has never been better. And the facilities on top of that, I mean, just in the last decade, just about everybody's done something really major in the facilities part of it, whether it's a new stadium or an indoor facility or something, on campus as far as training and development goes. Everybody's got something cooking from that standpoint, and that's absolutely wonderful for the league.
Yeah, you speak of facilities. I know at Bart Kaufman Field, since that was built a few years ago now, but in Indiana. Prior to that, they played at Simbauer, and it was basically a high school field. And now it's must-see TV. There are a ton of people out this weekend. As a matter of fact, it was pretty much capacity crowd for the last couple of days at Bart Kaufman. But there have been a lot of games where I was at there, and the crowds are really full. People enjoy college baseball. It's a great, inexpensive entertainment that you can get, but especially when the product is good on the field, the people will come out and watch.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the things I've been most impressed with. I did not grow up in Big Ten country. I grew up in the South and, moved up here several years ago. And one of the things that really kind of impressed me right off the bat is look, when the weather gets good, people will come out to see these teams in the Big Ten. I mean, I've seen it not just at IU, but just about everywhere I've gone in the Big Ten. When the weather is warm and the product on the field is good, which now more often than not it is, people turn up. And, that shouldn't be a surprise given how, these fan bases come out to support the other sports that the Big Ten has out there. So that's not really a surprise, but I think there's this misconception that there's just not the support for Big Ten baseball by and large. And again, Big Ten schools are not drawing 10,000 people like they do at LSU or Mississippi State, for example. But these are really solid crowds just about all across the league. And that's just another way in which, this league plays some pretty good baseball right up there with the best conferences in the country.
And talking about Indiana, right now they're leading the country in home runs. So that's a pretty big stat to be leading in for a school that is not part of that power play, as you'd speak. But I think they got 90 home runs on the season right now.
Yeah, and it's not just one guy either. I mean, they've got some pretty gaudy numbers in there. Matt Lloyd, chief among them, but, Cole Barr, 16 home runs, Matt Gorski, 12 home runs, Scotty Bradley's got some power, even a little bit further down with guys like Grant Richardson, Elijah Dunham, guys that maybe don't come right off to the top of your mind right off the bat, so it's not they're not predicated on one guy just crushing a 3-run home run. They can get it from just about anybody in the lineup, and there's a little bit of a feast or famine nature to the offense that that as well as anybody having covered them. There's a lot of talk about that, but I tend to not worry too much about that kind of thing, just because look at the results. There's been a lot more feast than there has been famine this season, and sometimes it may be the optics of it aren't great because the strikeouts are also high. That kind of comes with that, but more often than not, this offense has been really, really good this year, and it's kind of piled opposing pitching under just huge home run numbers. And I think that bodes well for the tournament setting. Particularly in the Big Ten tournament and in the regionals. Now, super regionals in Omaha, should IU get that far, those are kind of a different animal. But as far as the Big Ten tournament and regionals go, it's great to have frontline pitching. It's great to have some of that pitching depth, but the nature of those tournaments are that everyone is going to get their pitching beat up during the week. There are just too many games you have to play, and if you're going to end up on the, getting to day 3, 4, 5 of these tournaments, and or to get to the Sunday or Monday of a regional, you're going to be pretty thin on the mound if you get stretched out that far. And I use an offense that you absolutely do not want to see if you are thin on the mound, because they will really put a hurting on you. So I think it really bodes well for their opportunity to compete well, not just this coming week in Omaha, but also wherever they get sent for a regional.
Yeah, and something else I've noticed, if you look at their roster, 24 out of the 34 players on that roster are from the state of Indiana. And as a matter of fact, only 5 on the entire roster is from what I would call outside of the Midwest, either like Illinois or Wisconsin. They're all from right here. So it not only can you build a program now, it seems to be, but you can do it with homegrown products.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I mean, a detractor might say, well, but okay, so, Indiana's having a lot of success. They won the Big Ten, but, can you win a national title, for example, with just kind of homegrown products here? And for that, I would point to a program like Louisville, which isn't that far away from IU. And that's a program that I think, because they're in the ACC, I think there's an assumption that, look, they recruit the South, they recruit the Eastern Seaboard, and that's true to a certain degree. They are able to go into those areas and get players because of the success they've had. But that's largely a Midwestern program. They're recruiting a lot of kids from Indiana, a lot of kids from Kentucky, a lot of kids from Ohio. They've got some Wisconsin kids on that roster. So they are not, a program that's kind of gone out of their geographic footprint to have success. They've got a lot of kids from that area. So, Louisville can do it. And granted, at this point, Louisville's had the success they've had, which allows them to recruit a higher caliber of kid than most of the rest of the programs in that geographic footprint. But yeah, I mean, that's just proof that you don't necessarily have to do something, out of the ordinary recruiting wise to have success at a place like Indiana or anywhere else in the Big Ten for that matter.
Talking with Joe Healy from Baseball America, and obviously this weekend Indiana had a big weekend. They wrap up the Big Ten championship, which going into the weekend they were a game and a half back of Michigan, a strong Michigan team with a very strong pitching staff, and thanks to some help from Nebraska, Indiana sweeps Rutgers and they're able to pull out a Big Ten championship. That's a big deal for any school, but especially for a school like Indiana, who's trying to assert themselves as a dominant program in the conference at least.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think at this point, just with how consistent they've been, you go back to the end of Tracy Smith's tenure there before he left for Arizona State, and then Chris Lemonis, and now continue with Jeff Mercer. And at this point, Indiana, from a baseball standpoint, is the class of the Big Ten with how consistent they've been. You've had other programs that maybe, have had high highs, not to the extent that Indiana did by getting to Omaha, but they've had high highs for other programs. I mean, think about Illinois' 2015 season where they hosted a regional and won a home regional, and before being eliminated by Vanderbilt in the Super Regional. So other programs have had their moments in the sun, but Indiana's just been really consistent. So I think this is just another brick in that foundation of making it the preeminent program from a baseball standpoint in the Big Ten, and then winning the if you want to project it forward a little bit, then winning the conference opens up the door. Indiana could maybe, if things break right and they have to get some help, but winning the regular season title was a must if Indiana wants to kind of sneak in the back door to host. One of the ways in which it's been really helpful is the Big Ten is a better conference now, is that when you go into the Big Ten tournament, most of the games you're going to be playing in the Big Ten tournament are going to be quality games. You look at the RPIs, and I have it right here in front of me, Indiana at 30, Michigan 47, Illinois 22, Nebraska 35, Minnesota 65. The only team outside of the top 100 in RPI that's going to be there in Omaha is Ohio State at 136. So just about any wins you get in the Big Ten tournament are going to be positive wins on your resume. And if they can win a regular season title, win a tournament title, which is a tough ask, I realize, but if they can pull that off and get the RPI closer to 20 than it is to 30, if some other chaos happens, Indiana's got an outside shot to host. If you're asking me to bet, I bet on that probably not happening, and Indiana ends up as a 2 seed, probably at a place like Louisville. But there is a chance for it to happen, and it opened the door this weekend for that to play out.
Which is always a good thing. And what does it say about a program when they've lost their head coach twice in the last 5 years? Good head coaches, obviously, because Tracy Smith is off to Arizona State. Chris Lemonis is down in Mississippi. Mississippi State, I think. But when you lose a good head coach like that, and then now they're on their third head coach, but yet they are continuing to roll forward. Obviously, Jeff Mercer, doing an unbelievable job in his first season, getting a Big Ten title back for Indiana. But that says a lot about the program itself when you're able to go through that kind of turmoil and change.
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, it shows that they've done a good job hiring coaches. Because if you miss on a coaching hire, it often doesn't take long for that to kind of shine through. So I think it shows that IU's done a really good job of bringing in the right head coaches to lead the program. And beyond that, I think it means that those head coaches, and this should not be a surprise for the success they had, I think it means that these coaches are recruiting the right kinds of players. You look at the Indiana roster this year, and it's, there were a lot of holdovers from, Chris Lamonis. I mean, it's obviously Mercer's first year, so there hasn't been a lot of time for there to be roster turnover. But, it's a team led by a bunch of guys who have been here. And I think that speaks to the fact that these guys are committed to the program. And they kind of have trust that, hey, this new head coach that was brought in this case, Jeff Mercer, is a guy that we can get behind, and let's play for him, and let's play for each other. There was really no sign of these guys not being bought in to what Jeff Mercer and his staff was selling, and I think that's big, not only just from that standpoint, but also because it's clear that they were trying to do a little something different, particularly on offense. I mean, there's been a lot written about and talked about Jeff Mercer coming in and kind of changing the offensive approach of the IU lineup. And it would have been really easy for a lot of guys to be like, no, I don't really want to do that because I've had success doing this other thing. But it seems like the guys really bought into it, and we're kind of seeing the fruits of that labor with the way their offense has been able to roll. So it's sign of good hiring, of good culture, and bringing in the right players.
We're talking baseball with Joe Healy from Baseball America. Joe, Indiana heads off to the Big Ten tournament now to Omaha, where they'll play on Wednesday for the first time. But there's a lot of solid teams in the Big Ten tournament. You mentioned it's a tough ask for a team to win the conference and then turn around and win the conference tournament. I mean, you've got a lot of guys gunning for them. But this last weekend, Indiana was trying to win that Big Ten title, but there were other teams that were still in the hunt besides Michigan. I mean, Nebraska had an outside shot. Illinois and Minnesota were teams that were hoping for things to go their way, but there was more than one team just hoping for a title this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look down and you've got teams like Indiana and Illinois, for example, that have been really good all year. Michigan as well. And there's some teams that just have had kind of up and down. I'm thinking of a team like Minnesota. We had them ranked in the preseason, kind of based on the strength of Max Meyer and Patrick Fredrickson on that pitching staff, and Fredrickson wasn't as effective early in the year, and then he dealt with an injury, and now he's back and looking strong, and Max Meyer's been really good in that rotation. So that's a team that maybe at one point looked like they might be having a down year that seems to be playing some of its best baseball right now. Same is true with Nebraska. They've gone through some ups and downs, but, they're coming off of, winning their last series of the year, the weekend before that, winning a series against a very talented Arizona State team. Then you look at a team like Iowa. They've really, the last couple of weeks have been really tough on them. I mean, they were in our field of 64 projection just a couple of weeks ago after they won a series with UC Irvine in a non-conference series at home. Things kind of fell apart for them down the stretch a little bit. Now they're in a position where they're going to have to win the Big Ten tournament to get in. But I think that's a regional quality club that just maybe doesn't have the regional quality numbers they would need to get in. So, that's another team that's dangerous. And then you really can go, down the line with even a team like Maryland, which really hasn't had a fantastic year. They've been a little bit up and down, but they've got a guy on Friday nights, which it won't be Friday night obviously in the Big Ten tournament, but usually on Friday nights, and then Hunter Parsons, who's just about as good as anybody in the Big Ten. And when you have a guy like that who can start you off in the winner's bracket of the Big Ten tournament, that puts you in a position to have success. And so there really aren't any teams you can overlook in this field. And again, that's just one of the ways the Big Ten has taken a step forward than maybe 10, 15 years ago. Any one of these teams can win this tournament. There's been a lot of teams that have been a little bit more inconsistent. But if I were for some reason to go live under a rock for the next week and I woke up and you told me that any one of the 8 teams in this field won it, I wouldn't have a hard time believing you.
And I know Indiana's probably obviously one of the favorites to win, not the favorite necessarily, but one of the definite favorites. But can they? I don't think there's anything they can really do to hurt themselves in the Big Ten tournament as far as the NCAA coming the week after that.
No, yeah, I think they're pretty locked in where they are. I don't think they can really fall at all. Like I said, I laid out the scenario under which, like, maybe if you squint hard enough, you could see them hosting. But even if they go 0-2, they're going to be a solid 2 seed in a regional. They're going to be a really dangerous 2 seed. That's not the case with some of the other teams in the tournament. Michigan is one I'm watching for, just because Michigan has a really solid overall record, and they finished just a half game behind Indiana. in the Big Ten standings, but otherwise their resume is a little bit thin. Their RPI sits at 47, which is right around where they need it to be. But, some of their other metrics just really don't quite stack up. They're only 4-10 against teams in the top 50 of the RPI, and they don't have a series win against a team that's projected to be in a regional this year. So I think Michigan's a team that a lot of people, myself included, have kind of just assumed for a long time now they're going to get in, they'll be fine. And then when they were winning the Big Ten as recently as at the start of the weekend, you kind of assumed, like, okay, even if those numbers are a little bit short, winning the Big Ten will be enough of a feather in their cap to get them in. But now that they didn't win the league, it kind of puts them in a precarious position. Ultimately, I'm going to bet on them, as talented as they are, doing enough in Omaha this week to get in. But if they go 0-2 out there, there's going to be a little bit of sweating for Michigan on Selection Monday.
And then, of course, you mentioned Louisville earlier, and I'll bring this up only because they will probably be meeting in the NCAA tournament. Louisville's probably a hosting spot and a potential landing spot for Indiana in the playoffs. But that's a team that they just played each other, and while it was a win for Louisville, it went 11 innings, and Indiana was right there. It could have gone either way.
Yeah, and that just shows you that, Indiana, if that's where they end up, and you never know, sometimes there are, with the way the bracket is put together, sometimes there are kind of indirect reasons why a team ends up somewhere else because, two teams in a regional couldn't play each other for one reason or other, so one team got bumped to a different regional. So, you never know how those dominoes are going to fall. But Louisville seems like an obvious landing place for IU, and so I think that shows that Indiana can certainly play with them. The one thing, of course, you have to consider there as well, though, is that there's a very big difference between midweek baseball games and the games that get played on the weekend, or of course get played in the postseason, and that you're not seeing the top pitchers. You are seeing the best guys in the lineup, but you're not seeing the best pitching, and that's one of the biggest reasons why Louisville has done what they've done this year. Their rotation led by a couple guys in Reed Detmers, and Bobby Miller's been really good for them. Reed Detmers is kind of the headline guy out there, but he's been far from alone out there. So Nick Bennett's a solid guy they have out there. And they've got a deep bullpen, Michael Curie and Michael McAveen. They've got some pretty good pitching depth, but headlined, like I said, by Detmers, the front of the rotation. So those are guys you may not have seen as much of in a midweek game. So that's kind of the warning there, is don't read too much into that necessarily, but I think you can read into it that if Indiana does end up there, they're certainly not going to be out of their depth.
And we'll certainly look forward to that. And if you're not too busy, hopefully we can get you back on next week, because we'll be looking toward the NCAA tournament. Is the selections come on Sunday?
The selections come on Monday. So most of the conference tournaments wrap up Saturday or Sunday. And it's kind of a cool deal because the way the calendar breaks, that selection Monday is always on Memorial Day, which is kind of nice because folks are home more than they would be otherwise on a Monday. So it gives college baseball kind of has a unique opportunity to kind of be front and center on that Monday with everybody talking about the bracket. So yeah, Monday bracket show. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's one of my favorite days of the year. Obviously, there are no games on that Monday, but it's not too different than the basketball selection Sunday, where it does give you kind of a little bit of time to look at the bracket and talk about favorites and upsets and things like that. So it's always a lot of fun.
Well, we'll certainly see if we can get that worked out. Love to have you back on, Joe. Joe Healy from Baseball America. I can't thank you enough, man. Appreciate your expertise and your time.
Absolutely, Jim. Happy to do it.
Thank you so much. Joe Healy from Baseball America. We'll be back with more on Indiana Sports Beat right here from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this.
Upon your chest, your arms are folded, with the bottle in your hand.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make it tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. It's Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become one in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
This is former Indiana basketball player Greg Green. Keep up with the Hoosiers on Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Today's guest is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville with hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer. Pizza, burgers, beer. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Indiana Sports Beat, Jim Coyle with you as always. And now we're joined with our great friend Mitchel Paige, former Indiana football player. Brother, how's it going?
What's up, Jim? Long time no talk. How are you?
I'm getting by. A lot more fun when we get to talk to you, so this will be a lot more fun. But I know you're a busy guy. You came back from Europe and getting into the workforce now.
Yeah, I'm growing up. I'm about to buy a house. Thanks.
Well, there's always good parts and bad parts, but I'm sure that a lot of people are happy to have you back on this side of the pond for all of the time instead of just part of the time. But how hard was it, Mitchell, to make that adjustment of, you got out of college and you went right into playing pro ball over in Europe, and now you're doing the change that you just talked about, and there is no more football. How hard is that transition to make?
It's been actually really hard for me. I have no real structure anymore. And at football, I had a schedule. I had to be somewhere now, and just everything was planned out for me. And it was a little bit of adjustment, figuring out how to plan my own day and how to get things that I needed to get done, make sure they got accomplished. I'm jealous of the guys that weren't playing football in college a little bit because they learned these skills a long time ago.
Well, and then plus not having the game to play anymore, the competition, the camaraderie. I know those are some of the biggest things that whenever you leave a sport, those are the hardest things to leave behind.
Yeah, that was really tough at the beginning. Luckily, I'm at a really cool place right now where I'm working. I'm doing medical sales, selling joints, not the good kind, but selling joints. And I've got a great group of dudes that I'm working with that are pushing me, and it's an ultra-competitive industry, so I'm able to find an outlet for the competitiveness still. I'm in a really good place.
Well, of course, that makes sense, too, because, I mean, you're just transferring that competitive nature from the football field into the business world, and I'm sure that they can see that, and that's one of the things that makes you attractive to a potential employer. But how can you use the things that you've learned through football and through that competitive nature, but all the other things that you just talked about, the structure, and transfer that into the business world?
Yeah, I know what it looks like to be productive, I think, is the biggest thing that I can take away from sports. I know how to be productive, and it's going to be able to translate into a little bit different than football was, but I'm going to be able to structure my day, and I know, okay, this is what really being productive looks like. Let's get back to that.
And not only that, Jordan Hulls was on the program last week, and he just was named what's that?
I'm jealous you were talking to him. He's the MVP of Europe. He's balling.
Well, as were you last year, too, man. You broke every record that they had over there. But you guys remind me a lot of each other. Both guys that came out of school. And I remember we've had conversations about your recruiting and whatnot. How some coaches would look at your size and whatnot and just not give you a second look. But then, and Jordan Hulls had the same kind of a thing. He was not the biggest guy on the court, but man, all of a sudden, both of you, when it came down to produce numbers, bam, off the chart. Is part of that having a chip on your shoulder?
Yeah, I think you have to. And I'm sure Jordan would tell you the same thing. As I've gotten older, you kind of understand. In recruiting, it's a very inexact science. I've said that before on here. I think you understand it's a lot easier to justify recruiting someone that's bigger, faster, stronger than it is to justify recruiting someone, especially like me, that's only 5'6" in high school and 145 pounds. It's hard to justify that to the fans. If you miss on me, that looks a lot worse. Like, duh, he's so small. So I understand it from the coach's perspective as I've gotten older. But for me, it was great. It fueled a lot. Big fire. I have all the lists of all the coaches that have told me I wasn't good enough. And all through college and when I was with the Chargers and even still in Germany. And even to this day, I know where it is. And I look at it every once in a while just to remind myself I'm not even supposed to have had the opportunities that I have had and know the people that I know. Let's make the most of it.
That's great. And both of you, like I said, went on amazing careers. Jordan Hulls just named MVP, but you broke about every record they had last year, man. That was amazing.
Thank you. I did get the ball a lot. I was very fortunate. Went over there with a buddy of mine, and to say he gave me the first look on every play would be an understatement. I think I got the first couple looks. So that made it a lot easier on me.
Well, there's a reason that you got the first look. I mean, if you can't make it happen, I'm sure that he wouldn't have been doing that. So he had great confidence in you for a reason. So we're glad to have you back over on this side of the pond, though, man.
Yeah. No, who's super happy about it is my mom. She was there waiting for me in the airport. She probably texts me 3 times a week. I'm so happy that you're back over here. So that's really cool to be around her. She's one of the best ladies I've ever met, probably the best lady I've ever met in my life. So she's awesome, and I love her to death, and I'm happy to be back here.
As all we are. And then Indiana football, they have not had the success yet that everybody would hope for. But, man, the recruiting, it sure seems like that's a matter of time. Tom Allen is doing an unbelievable job recruiting. He's brought in two of the best classes in the history of that program.
Yeah, and it's easy to see why. You meet him once. I mean, he's the ultimate player's coach. I'd want to, if I was in high school and he was recruiting me, I'd want to go play for him too. He says the right things, does the right things. He's
Well, I think we lost Mitchell there for a second. Got you back here. Mitch, we were talking about Coach Allen and the unbelievable job he's done recruiting. He's bringing in some serious talent, man.
Yeah, I mean, he's off the charts recruiting. I think that's what I was saying before we left. It's easy to see why. He's doing everything that you need a coach to do. He's doing it at a big-time level. He's got all the facilities that he could ever need. That stadium is beautiful. If you haven't been down there, go see it. It's one of the prettiest-looking stadiums in the Big Ten. We need to fill it so it can be one of the loudest stadiums in the Big Ten. But that obviously comes with winning, and that's the next step. He's got the talent that's in there. It's still young, but got to find ways to win these games, as we've been saying for the past 10 years.
Yeah, as a receiver, as an offensive person, how would it be for you to go in knowing that they've got young quarterbacks like Michael Penix and Jack Tuttle and Peyton Ramsey with a couple of years of experience, but they got a hell of a quarterback room right now?
Yeah, I was down there for the spring game, and it was interesting. The receivers don't really care who's going to be out there. They got confidence in everybody. They said Tuttle's a gunslinger, Penix has got a cannon, and he's learning every day, and Peyton has been there before. So they're not worried about who's going to be in there. They're not saying, oh, I want him, I want him, I want him. They just, whoever's in there, let's go. We can all run. Let's just play fast.
How unusual is that for an offense to – because it seems a lot of times most people have, I'd really like to see this guy in. But, man, you're right. They've got a ton of talent in that room.
Yeah, it's hard to pick one. I'm not jealous of the quarterback's coach who's got to pick who's going to go out there first. I know that. They've all got some talent. I didn't get to see Tuttle that day, but just from what I hear, he sounds like he's everything that we hope he's going to be. So it should be a fun year to just watch the quarterbacks grow and develop, and we'll see what happens.
And not only is the quarterbacks, they've got a great running backs room. I mean, my gosh, I don't know. I don't think I can remember a time when they have this much talent in that running backs room. I mean, there are Stevie Scott's coming back, of course, but you got Cole Guest who will be coming back off of an injury. You've got Samson James and Ivory, new guys that are coming in. They have got talent from each level. I mean, some experience with Cole Guest. You've got a breakout star in Stevie Scott last year, and then the new guys, Samson James and Ivory as well. I mean, they've got a ton of talent in that room as well.
Yeah, it's all about competition. That's what you're looking for. Big-time teams, the Ohio States, the Clemsons, the Alabamas of the world have depth. And they have third-string guys that are pushing the first-string guys every week to make sure they're always on top of their game. IU's got that in the running back room. It's got it in some other rooms. Needed in some other places, but they're going in the right direction. Put it all together. I'm going to keep saying that. Put it all together.
And, of course, being a former offensive player, running the receiving core, Indiana has had a good receiving core for a number of years. I mean, they seem to really excel there, and this year will be no different.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add. Playing receiver at IU comes with a little sense of pride, and the guys that were before you expect you to perform when you're out there, and the guys in the room right now know that, and they fully expect to live up to that.
Well, and they've got guys that can do different things. Of course, you got Mr. Westbrook, but you've also got guys like Luke Timian, who reminds me a lot of you, can do a lot of things, man. Just such a quick hit and an explosive player, and you could run him on punt returns if you need to. They can do so much, but can do things that other receivers probably couldn't do.
They're versatile, and that's what we've been that way for a long time, and I think that's one of the things that makes IU really attractive for recruits. Big guys aren't always going to be on the outside. They're going to move in, they're going to move out, switch sides, have different feet up, run different routes. You have to be a total package receiver if you want to play at IU, and that's what's made us excel on offense, to be able to vertically stretch and expand defenses very effectively.
talking with our good friend Mitchel Paige. Now, and of course, back-to-back 5 and 7 seasons. That's one thing that is going to have to change. They're going to have to get some wins, and I think get to a bowl game. But it's a tough schedule coming up, but they've got to start getting the wins on the board as well.
It's all that matters. You can be the best recruiter in the world, say all the right things, but football doesn't wait. College football does not wait. Winning is what matters, first and foremost. Winning puts people in the stands. Winning makes money, and that's the name of the game.
There's a couple things that'll be different this year from your playing days. If you come back, you can now buy beer at Memorial Stadium. How's that treat you?
I think it's phenomenal. I think it's long overdue. Even if it saves half the people that would have went out, it totally changes the atmosphere of the game. It's a Big Ten college football stadium, and at halftime not being able to buy beer, I mean, I understand. You're there, it's an event. You want to be with your people enjoying yourselves, and for a lot of people that means alcohol. And when it's not in the stadium, you got to go out to get it. There's no pass outs, and it just creates a whole tornado of problems that is going to be avoided for at least half of those people, I would think. And not to mention make some money off it, too. So I think it's a great move, long overdue for the university.
And how important it is for especially a program like Indiana that would lose so many people at halftime and they wouldn't come back because they're out tailgating or whatever and they don't come back in. But how important is that as a player to have those people in the stands when you need them?
Even when it's not loud, seeing people in the stands makes you feel like you're not alone. And it's honestly, this sounds terrible. Now that I'm a fan, I feel like I can say it. I'm not on the team anymore. There'd be times when we'd come out at halftime, it was kind of embarrassing. You'd be like, is this really – I mean, there's more people at the spring game. Is this really as much as we can bring out? And guys that I've now talked to that were playing on other teams said the same thing. Like, you guys were in the first half, it was loud, and then it was just kind of just tailed off, to say it nicely, in the second half. So hopefully that beer, concessions, and winning games can change some of that.
It's hopefully that there's big changes coming. They got a lot of recruits coming in. I think it's going to be a fun year for them. I really do expect some good things. The schedule's going to be tough this year. They've got to go to a place, play at Nebraska. That's something kind of new. They're looking forward to that. What would it be like to be able to play at a place like that?
I'm going to be in the stadium, so hopefully I can get a little bit of taste in it. That's one stadium I've always wanted to go to. Never got the chance to when I was there, but I'm going to do my best to get out there. I'm going to go to that game, and it's going to be rowdy. From all that I've heard about it, I heard it's one of the best stadiums in America, so looking forward to that.
Well, hopefully we can ride down together because I'm definitely the same. I'm looking forward to going out there. I mean, there's nothing like being in a place that has great culture, no matter where it is or what it is. And it's just enjoyable to soak that stuff up, man.
Absolutely. Those are some of the best fans. They've been through the trials and tribulations a little bit the last couple of years, and they're still ride or die with them. That's what I think IU should strive for. IU football needs that if it wants to get to the levels that I think it should be at, and the facilities kind of look for. That's with the facilities that we have, that's what we need to be happening. That's the product that we need on the field, and the fans come along with that. It's really cool, something that IU should model itself after.
Mitchel Paige, former IU great, man. I thank you so much. Looking forward to seeing you on the golf course maybe this summer. Get you down here. Say hi to your dad for me as well.
Absolutely. I definitely will. He asks about you all the time. We'll get on the golf course, practice that game, man. Get to the driving range.
I'll do it, brother. Thank you so much. Mitchel Paige, I can't thank you enough.
Yeah, definitely. Looking forward to being on the show again.
That's going to wrap it up for us today. Thanks a lot for tuning in to Indiana Sports Beat. We'll be back with a lot more tomorrow from the Golf Club at Beagle Point Studios. Of course, Mike Schumann will be with us, but that's going to wrap it up. Thanks a lot, Jake, behind the wheel. I'm Jim Coyle, and I will see you on the radio.